standard of education in every country is very important. If a nation intends to improve the quality of its labor force with intelligent minds that can drive development, that is, in order to achieve that, there should be no leaf left unturned in fishing out people that obtain certificates through forgery or illegal institutions. In Nigeria, the federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Education on Tuesday, announced the suspension of accreditation of degree certificates from Benin Republic and Togo. According to a statement on Tuesday signed by Augustina Obilo Duru on behalf of the Director of Press and Public Relations, Federal Ministry of Education, the government lamented that some Nigerians deploy nefarious means and unconscionable methods to get a degree with the end objective of getting graduate job opportunities for which they are not qualified. It followed an investigation by a journalist who bagged Cotonou varsity degree in 6 weeks. The reporter successfully used the acquired fake degree to participate in Nigeria's National Youth Service Corps scheme undetected. According to the government, the suspension persists pending the outcome of an investigation involving the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Education of Nigeria and the two countries, as well as the Department of State Security Services and the National Youth Service Corps. Joining us on the show to discuss this and ways the federal government can tackle certificate racketeering is Professor Victor Ariole, a French and Francophone Studies professor at the Department of European Languages and Integration Studies in the University of Lagos. Good morning, Professor, and welcome to the morning show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great. We'll just go straight in. First of all, to give some context to our conversation this morning, can you give us an assessment of what has now been termed certificate racketeering in Nigeria, especially from institutions in Benin Republic as identified in Togo and institutions like that? Because we've seen almost an amassing of honorary degrees, of certificates without any substance to it. Can you give us a picture, paint a picture for us? What is the situation on ground? How bad is it in terms of certificate racketeering in Nigeria?
Well, certificate racketeering is basically a way out to get employment, as you know, and because of that, people are so desperate and they find any way what they can do to get it and find themselves worthy for Nigerian economy that is yet to absorb its correct workforce. And because of that laxity and because of that lax manner of government planning process, it's not it's like anybody, help yourself. Whatever you can do to get a degree and make yourself available for work, and is there, especially in the civil service and public service sectors, where it is a nepotistic approach to work. Just who do you know? How do you show that, yes, you are part of me so that I give you work? Or how do you show that I have something in your getting a job? And that's the problem we're having in Nigeria. If in effect the government is capable of caging up to 3 million Nigerian youth every year that is interested in getting a higher institution, getting into a higher institution, and be able to map out how to distribute them into the educational system that is available, whether it is higher OND or College of Education or university or even agricultural sector. Make it available for them so that they won't just be idle. They won't be going out and looking for any kind of degree to come and do NYSC to validate themselves as employable. That is basically the problem. It's a government problem. After all, Benin Republic, they have their own youth. Why can't their youth also go and look for fake certificate within Benin Republic there? It's not possible for them because everything in Benin Republic is regulated by the Ministry of Education. In short, they have up to 3 ministries that cater for education in Togo or in Ivory Coast or in Niger, so as to make sure that the high-level manpower the nation needs, the government is really in charge and regulating it and making sure that they don't turn haywire and become criminals. Because anybody who got certificate in a wrong way, of course, is not going to lead better in a nation. And this nation is supposed to project itself to have strategic manpower that will really help it grow. And that is the biggest economy in Nigeria. Somebody rated it as a $200 trillion economy, or 200 trillion naira economy rather. I mean, it's you can't find it anywhere in Africa. And so everybody sees Nigeria as a worthy place to come and do something and go free because there is no serious regulation. And that's why we are seeing it that way. Otherwise, the youth, why should the Nigerian youth give himself out to that?
No, okay, just for some context, sir. This was an investigative report. Yeah. It was a journalist that decided to look at the system and game the system. So the so-called Benin Republic you are saying, it is the same Benin Republic that has a lot of those fraudulent universities that you can go in less than 6 weeks. And those universities are regulated by...
No, but listen.
No, hang on a minute, sir. The multiple authorities that you say that regulate universities in Benin. So the university system in that country is flawed in the first place because it could be gamed. And that's why there's this ban. Secondly, the complicity in the education ministry and the procedures in the NYSC that would be easy to game. So take, for instance, the reason why these certificates were suspended was because a journalist, like I said before, gamed the system in Benin, came back. He had served before in the NYSC scheme. But the scheme, the data set did not recognize the fact that he had served before. So somebody that had served before in NYSC could serve again by just changing few details. Then he was mobilized for posting in the same Nigeria and he served again. So he served twice. And I think that's what we should speak to. The corruption in the system. Also, it affects the immigration. An immigration official stamped this journalist's passport in and out of the country without traveling. Because they needed to see how many times he had traveled before they could process his NYC. So an immigration official stamped in and out travels for somebody that had not traveled out of the country. So it's the massive grand corruption across the value chain we should talk about. So let's not exonerate Benin, because Benin is as complicit as anybody in the value chain of the problem, sir.
We know, but you see, what we are saying is that no Benin youth will ever go looking for fake certificate to come and work in Benin economy. That's what I'm saying. It can only be because Nigeria is so laissez-faire.
Sir, a lot of them are doing it. A lot of them.
I'm saying Benin youth I'm talking about. You know, it's an outpost. Every university or higher institution you see in Benin Republic or Togo, especially, or Niger, is just an outpost of Nigerian business in such areas. So you will still see Nigerian people there. It's not up to 2 or 3 months. I saw some big Nigerian, creme de la creme of Nigerian society taking honorary degrees in those universities in Benin Republic. This one was showed on TV, and Nigerian TV celebrated it also. I can't remember which one. So what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to a national, something that touches the national nerves, that makes the whole world see what a nation is, whether there is, integrity in a nation. The government's supposed to be up and doing. Here, as you are saying, NYSC is involved, immigration is involved. I mean, is it something we have not seen for almost 20, 30 years in this Nigeria, that such a thing happened? I have traveled from here to Ivory Coast on road. Crossing Nigerian border, they told me they don't need my passport, that I should drop money and go my way. I mean, that does not obtain in Benin Republic. It doesn't obtain in Togo. It doesn't obtain in Ghana, not to talk of Ivory Coast. All the processes, they ask for my passport. It's only in Nigeria that they say they don't need my passport. I should drop the money and go. I mean, and I was worried. People around there they were looking at me, and I said, how do you want me to drop money when I have passport? I want you to look at the passport. And somebody told me that, yes, the order come from above. You have to obey it. You know, I was rough-handled and I was maltreated simply because I felt my passport must be looked into and stamped before I go out. So, you see, it's a matter of, if you check very well, those people at the border point there, they definitely have either one certificate or whichever, which in our own parlance here, we say we give you degree in character and in learning. I mean, how can you claim you have the degree in character and in learning, and you won't be able to, you know, defend your nation wherever you are, to prove the integrity of your nation, you know? Beyond that, you see, it's just, they give a wrong image of most of Nigerians who are honest, who travel abroad also.
All right.
See, so it's not, it's internal, and we must find a way to regulate it and get it right internally.
Yes.
As you said, we are not to blame Benin Republic, as I told you, you see, because they have their own ministry that is in charge of their education. Those education, they see it as business.
All right, Professor
It has
Ariole.
nothing to do with their own country.
All right, Professor Ariole, thank you. And I'm glad you talk about the far-reaching consequence of this, beyond just the suspension. And by the way, the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, has said that they will also look into other African countries. They mentioned countries like Uganda, Kenya. Just to mention, like you said, it's not just about Benin Republic and Togo, but other countries, and the system and the process of accreditation and evaluation of degrees here in Nigeria must be looked into. And being you know, in the system yourself, I'd like to ask you, what is the current system for accrediting and evaluating degrees, not just in Nigeria? Because before you go to Benin Republic and Togo, there are some degree awarding institutions in Nigeria that ought not to be degree awarding institutions because they are not credible. However, there are people who come out from this. So people just pay, you know, institutions here in Nigeria and collect certificates. So before we look outside, even internally, we need to fix the process. So I'd like to speak about that. How do we begin to clean up this corruption and what the minister has described as criminal minds and criminal elements? How do we begin to clean it up in Nigeria so that we're able to sanitize that aspect of the education sector? Degree awarding institutions that are not credible. You know, we see mushroom institutions springing up day after day. Who is giving them the approval for these institutions to be developed? How are we checking the institutions are doing what they're supposed to be doing in terms of accrediting and evaluating degrees from these institutions, not just abroad, but right here in Nigeria?
I agree with you. You see, just like US has its own accreditation institution, you know, and it's the biggest you can talk of in the whole world with over 3,000 higher institutions. So Nigeria with just below 500 universities, as they claim, you know. I know federal government has up to 80-something universities within its purview. And then you see, so seem to be the institution that accredit courses in universities. I mean, within our own setup, some universities have got moment of 3, 4, 5 years without accreditation in some courses. That is NUC working. That means that NUC is up and doing, trying to get things done and get normal courses accredited, because there is a need to give value to the certificate or the degree you are giving to the students. In Nigeria, the institution is there. It's Nigerian University Commission. Everybody knows about it. What people are saying is that if they are the one in charge, and then they use professors within the existing universities to go for the accreditation, they have gone to an extent to prove that there is integrity in what they are doing. But you see, it doesn't end there. It's like marketing process.
I think we'll have to take a quick breather, then we'll come back to Prof, because there's some challenge. We'll be right back. All right, so we have Professor Victor Ariole, French and Francophone Studies Professor at the Department of European Languages and Integration Studies at the University of Lagos. Great to have you back. As you were saying, sir, before we had that little pause.
Yeah, we're talking about accreditation, is it not so?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What we are saying is that Nigeria has, if you like, near perfect accreditation process with Nigerian University Commission, and they haven't failed in monitoring and saying that the courses that accredit get value for what the students are for in terms of the certificate and the degree they are awarded. So up to that point, there is no problem. The only problem we have is we have now private universities. We have private institutions, which are also part of the accreditation process. And then what goes on in these private institutions, you can't completely say, because as we are talking, and ASU keep on hammering over it, we don't have the manpower to take charge of the whole universities in Nigeria. Even the federal universities that are expected to be at best 60% or 70% okay, don't have the manpower to man all the courses they deliver or they intend to offer. So now you profligate the system with private universities, you know, and the private universities have also to poach from existing manpower to get their system going. So you see, this is the problem the NUC is supposed to look into. The quantum and the quality of lecturers in each of the universities, and if you like, the library and the technology processes that go on, whether it is adequate for awarding such degrees. That's why Nigerians are going out looking for where they will get a degree. And anyhow, Uganda, I mean, if you check Uganda very well, Nigerians are the one manning the Uganda outpost.
Okay,
I mean,
sir.
I've interacted with some people there. You know?
So how can we then? Yeah, can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you.
Good. So how can we then go after some of these big Nigerians that have these universities just for the purpose of money and racketeering? How can we go after them? Because most of them are syndicates. Most of them have there are some foreign universities that have outposts here in Nigeria, and they have like the Nigerian Center, and you know it's just a pure racket and franchise they are running. So how do we go after them and bring them to book? That's number one. Number two, even with the established traditional universities, the proliferation of money can do all in the educational system is shocking. You get all sorts of people with questionable characters being given honorary this, honorary that, and even trying to get them certificates because they can pay any amount of money. I mean, what is going on? How is it that money has dominated every part of our system and caused porosity?
It's just simply because Nigeria has subjected itself to full unbridled capitalist approach to economy and governance. When you say, you know, market forces, you liberate everything, you allow people to have their way, as long as they are bringing in whatever money, as you say, either by paying tax, or by giving people some money here and there to cover up and do whatever they are doing. That is the problem we are having. If you have an economy that is at least mixed, liberal and somehow partially welfare-minded or socialist-minded, you will see that things will be in place. Because China, for example, you can't go to China where we know that they have imbibed what we call capitalist system of economy now, but then it doesn't mean that those ruling them have that capitalist tendency in ruling them. There is some level of some element of socialism or communism in the rulership level or rulership strata of China. And that it makes the people who are so greedy, who are so capitalist-minded, to be very careful, because anything they do is capital punishment, the death trap, or they will be killed straight ahead. We have been hearing that now and then. So, you see, Nigeria has to develop a system where they have to also refuse to be completely aligned to capitalist-mindedness or capitalist economy. Because we have no fewer than 90% of Nigerians seriously still suffering, still trying to get way to do something to prove themselves that they are worth of having self-esteem in the system. That's why parents can sell their land, sell their houses, do everything to see that their children go to school, come up so that they can serve in NYSC. Because NYSC is where you have the seal of what do you call it, credibility. When somebody does anything and he comes up and is allowed to do NYSC, he has already given the impression that whatever he got, the degree he got, Nigerian government acknowledges it and accepts it.
Prof.
You know? Yes?
I just want to ask you this quickly.
I am hearing you.
Yes, sir. Is the overemphasis on university education rather than the skills and development of individual a problem in this country?
That's what I'm saying. At least we know that every year, no fewer than 2.5 million or 3 million at worst, Nigerian youth, want to find themselves in higher institutions. But what we are saying is that it's not only university that they should go in. There are other areas to go in and make themselves available for the future of Nigeria. It still behoves the government to think about it. Just like I know about Ivory Coast, for example. If you are 18 years at the time when Ufo-Boigny was the president and Ouattara is trying to instill that now, anybody who is within 18, 21, 22 is either in the farm, in the government farm, doing one thing or the other, or in the university. That is what they call national service. National service in their own case is not NYSC of Nigeria. National service is that you are of age, and we want to know what you can do for the nation, not necessarily university education. This is where Nigeria is getting it wrong, making NYSC to be something you have to come to because you have a university degree. You know, something has to be done to show that, yes, some people can go for community service that has nothing to do with NYSC also.
All right. Well, I just wanted to ask a question about the students, just in less than a minute. Because we're talking about, yes, we want to clean up the system, but the president of the National Association of Nigerian Students in Benin Republic has said that about 15,000 students will be affected by this, and that perhaps the Ministry of Education should review this stance on the suspension of all degrees, because in their estimation, not all is fake.
I disagree with him.
Okay.
Seriously, I disagree with just like lawyers will say, why should you because of one person, you punish 99 people? There must be a selective process. Go into their records. Those who are found culpable, bring them out and punish them. Not because one person did something wrong, or if there are 15,000, definitely just like the Nigerian case, there wouldn't be the whole 15,000 people who are involved in this criminal issue. So you should not punish everybody because you discover one university or one institution is creating problem. It is not done. It's against human rights, completely against human rights.
Thank you so much for your time, Prof. Brilliant.